Sometimes it seems like life is a sort of a test and you can't move forward until you figure out something that you need to learn and put it into practice. Maybe it's that you want new relationships in your life. Maybe it's you want something new in your career development. It could be any number of different things, but quite often we ask ourselves a question: what is it that really makes you ready to move on to the next thing? If you're trying to get promoted or you're trying to have something new in your life, what is the signal that'll tell you that you're ready? And I was thinking about how when we really want something super bad and we think that we're super qualified for it, quite often that's not the case. When you think that you're really, really good at your job and you're really, really qualified for a promotion and you ought to get that new job right now, and you'd be so excited if you could have it, and you want to have a higher rank really, really bad, that's probably the time when you're not very qualified. Like, you don't understand what it's going to take. It's like when I was a child and a teenager, I had periods in my life when I wanted to be certain things, like maybe an airline pilot, for example. I thought that would be so cool to be an airline pilot. But my idea of that was not based off reality. It was just this fantasy. Like, I had this idea of how cool it would be, but I didn't understand what it really means to go to school, to learn all the things that you have to learn, to practice all the things and make all the sacrifices you got to do to actually take that and turn the dream into a reality. And a lot of times we have these fantasies of what we want out of life, and we think we want it, but we really don't understand what goes into it. Like, maybe you want to have this great family. You want to have a wife and kids and all those kinds of things. But then, do you understand what that actually involves? It involves a lot of joy and also a lot of sacrifice. It involves a lot of commitments and a lot of compromises. And though it can be a wonderful thing, the more you understand what all goes into it, the more likely you are to start to say, you know what, that's a pretty big deal. And by the same measure, though, when you get to the point where you do understand that, then that's also the point where you're probably more qualified to take that step. Because you understand the gravity of what it is, you understand what goes into it. Then you stop necessarily chomping at the bit so hard. You stop saying, oh, I want that new responsibility in my life so bad. And instead, you're a little more content, maybe. And then you stop jumping up and down, waving your hand, saying, pick me. You start just being a little bit more, I guess, chill. You become more aware of the fact that even if you want something that's going to give you more responsibility in life, that's also something that comes with its own burden to bear. And so you kind of start to maybe say, what's the hurry? Like I think about this in terms of relationships, being single for a couple of years and kind of having this time to get my life in order and think about different stuff. And, I think about how, like, loneliness is something that's real. Like I don't want to be alone. Like, I don't think anybody really does. Like, maybe a few people want to be alone, but I don't want to be alone. And yet, more as time has gone on, I've also realized the benefits of being able to be the master of my own time, being able to be free to think as I wish and go where I wish, do what I wish, speak to anybody I wish, and just have that liberty in life. Something which, when I've had close relationships, sometimes those relationships can get in the way of one's ability to be true to themselves. That's just something that's kind of a reality. So, I don't worry so much necessarily about saying, I want to rush into some sort of a relationship. I mean, I do want one, but I'm not desperate, because I know there's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of commitment that goes into that. So I want it to be the right person. If something doesn't work out, I kind of think, well, you know what, that's all right. Maybe sometimes there's disappointment there. But I also think being alone is a blessing. I could say I wanted a job with more responsibility, but then I also think to myself of all the things that I'm able to do with a job that's ultimately pretty low stress. I don't spend my time worrying a lot about what's going on when I'm not at work. I have a pretty relaxed life. And there's a lot of people I know who don't, because they have more high-powered careers. But then they don't have time to just do something that they want to do purely for fun, because they're so consumed by the responsibility of their role that they can't really, I guess, be true to themselves as much. So, the more you become aware of these things, the more you become content with life, because you understand what change in your life will bring. So you don't worry so much about trying to force change to happen. You stop being in such a big hurry, because you understand that there's a benefit to life lived in the moment. When you're a child, you tend to think, my goodness, if I could just grow up faster, I want to be older. I want to be able to have power and authority. I want to be taken seriously like a grown-up and so forth. And then you get older, and then you stop thinking, I want to get older, right? When you're the teenager that's saying, oh, everyone should take me seriously. I want people to acknowledge me because I'm 18 years old. By golly, you got to treat me like an adult, How dare you treat me like a child because I'm an adult? Well, maybe you're technically an adult, but you probably don't have the maturity of an adult. Then eventually you get the maturity of an adult. You understand what it means to be grown up. You understand the responsibilities that involves. And no, you don't want to go back and be a child again. But you also think about what a blessing it is to be a child. You think about what a gift it is to have your whole life ahead of you. And so you stop thinking that you want to be in a hurry to get older, because you start to realize that every season of your life has its own unique advantages and blessings. When you're young, you have your whole life ahead of you. When you're older, maybe you have other things. You have more credibility. You have more wisdom. Maybe you have more money. Maybe you have a better job. But Warren Buffett, with all of his enormous amounts of money, would most likely trade all of it for the opportunity to be young again. There's a lot of married guys who would really, really enjoy just the opportunity to be freed and not be encumbered by their family obligations, their relationships. There's a lot of salaried people who have high pressure jobs that would just enjoy being able to be hourly again and clock in, get paid to do a job, and then go home when they're done and not worry about it, not take it home, not always be sitting there thinking, what's the next text message or late night phone call or email that's going to come in that's going to disrupt my day. So, you want to be more qualified. You want to pass the test if there is a test in life's destiny to say, okay, well, what do I do to be ready for change in my life? Quite often it's to be content with your life the way it is. And we can really tend to say, okay, well, I'm content with my life. But we're not really, It's like if I said, if you are really in a good mood, you have a good attitude, then I will reward you. And so even though you're angry inside, you pretend to have a good attitude, you put a smile on your face, but the reality is you still don't have a good attitude. You may pretend to have a good attitude because you want a reward that's associated with acting like you have a good attitude. But it's like the child that says to their parent who says, sit down, the child says, well, I'm sitting down on the outside, but on the inside, I'm still standing up. And a lot of the time that's how we are. We'll say, well, I have peace in my life. I'm content with my life. I appreciate the blessings in my life. But then inside we're saying, well, I'm not content. I'm not happy with where I'm at. I want things to be different. Maybe I want more challenge. Maybe I want more success in one particular area of my life. And inside, internally, we are not at peace. And as long as that's how we are, then it's kind of like, I think the universe sort of says, well, you still have to grow internally before you can have external gains. And that's hard because truth always prevails and water always finds its level. No matter how much you want to pretend to be the way you need to be, but you really have you have things haunting you inside, then you still have to work on yourself. You still have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, I'm going to figure out, how to have more peace, not pretend to have peace, but really truly have peace and accept my life as it is. And face reality, all of the reality there is out there to face. And then you come to terms with the truth. And the truth is not necessarily flattering. The truth has a lot of inconvenient things about it. And when you face all of it and you accept all of it, then you start to have a level of maturity. Because you're not seeing things through the eyes of a fantasy. You're seeing them through the lens of reality. And that's when you become qualified, to get to the next level. And then quite often, I think when we reach a point of maturity in our life spiritually, where we've come to terms with things, we've made peace with things, we've really let go of things that have held us back, that's when the magic kind of starts to happen. And then you're just going through your motions, enjoying your life, doing the things that you do with a sense of joy, and you're not trying to race towards some finish line. You're just at peace and you're present and you're joyful. Then at that point, then doors start to open and you don't even pay too much attention to it because you're just busy enjoying your life. And then the blessings start to flow in. And then blessings tend to compound on themselves. And it winds up being sort of an exponential curve. Things just get better and better. But it all starts with understanding that you can't get the things you want and then have peace as a result. You have to find peace first. And then sometimes as a side effect of that, some of the things that you've always wanted start to fall into place. And sometimes the things that you think you want prove to be things that aren't necessarily what you want after all. So there's that. But there's a movie. I'll close with this thought. There's this movie, A River Runs Through It. It's all about life in Montana, about these young men fly fishing in the river. And the movie is all about their lives. And there's tragic things that happen in the movie. There's joyful things that happen over the course of their lives. And in the end, the movie doesn't have a happy ending. It just is a story. It's a story about the lives of ordinary men who are on a journey through life. And in the end, it's just young men fishing in the river turn into old men fishing in the river. And, stuff happens. And I think the underlying question is, what do you make of it, And the lesson is, you don't. You just let it be. Just like the river that has run over rocks from the basement of time. You don't make anything out of life. You don't reach some spectacular point of revelation. You just live. And good things happen, and bad things happen. And you'll look over your life and you'll see evidence all over the place that you are not perfect and that other people are not perfect. And there will be a lot of pain, a lot of confusion along the way. But somewhere there's a clarity too. At the end of all things, there's a clarity, because you come to the realization that despite all of the belief that you've had, that you have to figure out the answer to life. Life just is. And you don't have to figure out the answer. You just continue to be present. And if there is a sense of destiny, if there is purpose, well, so be it. But I think for as long as there have been people, there has been this great debate, this argument, whether we are somehow predestined, whether we have some sort of a destiny, or maybe if the things that happen to us are purely random. I think the jury is out on that. But if there is a happy medium between the two ideas, it's to say that we should probably have a sense of faith that things happen for a reason, that we are part of a story that's greater than ourselves. And yet also to understand that in all of life's randomness, in all of its seemingly infinite number of interconnected strands, it's not our place to understand. It's not our duty to figure it out. It's okay to just let things be the way they are. And if there is any destiny that we were meant to unlock, if there is any progression track where we could figure something out and then maybe be ready to go to the next level, the way to that is probably to have peace in the moment. To stop believing that you have to be more than what you are. To stop believing your life would be happier if something different happened or something new came your way. And instead, just learn how to enjoy the moment and do things that you can do right now, because no moment in our life ever comes back again. Every moment is something we have that's unique to us right now. Life is too short for bitterness. It's too short for refusing to forgive people. It's too short for trying to teach people a lesson. Too short for vendettas. Too short for beating ourselves up over things. But it is long enough for us to find loveliness along the way as we make our way through life to whatever end. So, as you make your way through life, good luck on your journey, good luck on your adventure. And, if you want something new in your life, don't focus so much on getting there. Focus more on just being present where you are. Till next time, thanks for watching, as always.